Alrighty, so the Saturday game around MLS have just finished, and you know what? Throughout tonight, I tend to have this instant when I was watching all four of these games where I feel like this was potentially going to happen, and that I kind of had a prediction in my head while watching these four games, and that I had a prediction that this was going to happen throughout a certain stage of these four games, and it turned out it did happen. Now, before you probably thinking, what the hell am I actually talking about? I'll explain when I am doing this review of these four games, and I'll start off with the first game between the Quakes and the Rapids, which that one ends in a 1-1 draw. And I had an instant that when we went up 1-0, thanks to Wando scoring on the penalty, and that Colorado immediately responds and kind of blitz us on the other end, was looking for the equalizer, that something tells me we're going to concede, and that goal that we're going to concede is probably going to be because of Vega making a bad mistake. Now, in the first half, and the Quakes actually decided to make 5 changes. Well, Almeida decided to make kind of a wholesale changes coming into this game, and it's understandable why he decided to make a wholesale change, because as we heard from his post-game press conference from the last one against LAFC, he says that there's going to be changes that was coming. And although, these 5 changes that he is making, I do like the fact that he decided to kind of change it up and hope that it might get a different result than what we saw the previous couple of days when we just got absolutely steamrolled by LAFC. I didn't like the fact that Vega was still in goal. And I think after this game, it is pretty clear that if Vega is still in goal for this Quakes team, they're not going to get a win if he is going to be in goal. And that, Quakes fans after this game, if they have talked about how JT Marcinkowski clearly need to be in goal, yeah, their chant just got louder with the way how this game, of course, took place. Now, it was also interesting to see that throughout the broadcast, I hear the car horn in the background, and obviously the Quakes doing this time, and also in the MLS's back tournament, they have like a viewing party at the 7-Up Epic Center, and that for phase 1 at least, I know they have sent out like emails to us season ticket holder that if we want to, of course, join these viewing party. And the reason why I decided not to go to these viewing party is because during home games like this, where you might even be lucky to park in a spot that can get a quick peek of the action that was on the field, you have to pay $45 to do that, which is even more than I actually pay for my season ticket. If you want to count like per game ratio. So clearly, I basically just said no to that, and that just feels like a complete ripped off. Now, in the 9th minute, Vega was able to deny Acosta early, as I thought the Rapids were by far the better team in the first 10 minutes. The Quakes' attack was once again not getting going early in the game, but eventually they did kind of get things going when Wando just missed wide off the post, and he just maybe came inches away from hitting that left side post in the 21st minute. Before the Quakes, as I said, they started to do a little bit more on the attack, but once again, just no final third product whatsoever for this team. And it's been kind of the story ever since they started phase 1 of this restart, where the attack just clearly look very stale and just have nobody on that attack that is able to produce a final third ball and create good chances to potentially score a goal. Now, heading into the second half, Diego Rubio almost gave the Rapids a 1-0 lead when he hit the post in the 55th minute. Then 4 minutes later, Sam Vines, of course, handballed it in the box, and I have no idea what he was doing there when he was sliding in and kind of raised his hand up like he was about to ask a question or answer a question in doing an instruction video, because that was just completely no need. And the Quakes, they're very fortunate that they got a gift in terms of that, and give a chance for Wando to potentially slot it away from the penalty spot, which that is exactly what he did, as he was able to put that one away. And it was a bit of a cheeky penalty too, because the way that he kind of did a little mini Panenka and able to put it into the back of the net, that's kind of very cheeky of what Wando did there. And the Quakes, of course, were up 1-0 up until that point. Now, after that, Colorado started to really go on the attack, and once again was mounting to pressure on the Quakes defense to potentially get an equalizer. And when I saw this, I feel like this looked very similar to the LA Galaxy game. And we know in that LA Galaxy game, when the opposition is able to take control of the game and able to really put pressure on us, that's when the Quakes defense is going to falter. And I did say in the beginning, my instinct, I feel like we were probably going to eventually concede the way that we just let our opposition kind of having time and spaces to just kind of pass around our defense. But before that, in the 75th minute, Wando almost made it 2-0 when Warner was able to make a great defensive play to clear the ball off the line. And then K. Cow almost did a Messi-esque kind of goal with the way that he was able to dribble from midfield and just completely cut open that Rapids defense. But the only difference between that being a Messi-esque goal is that he unfortunately blazed that one over the bar, and this game was staying at 1-0 before in the 81st minute, Kai Kamara would score from the header from Cole Bassett, and wouldn't you guessed it, my instinct and my thoughts of that the Quakes are eventually going to concede actually happened. And you know how I said Vega was the one that probably is going to cost this goal? Vega was the reason he cost this goal. Like, he's got to clearly punch that one away before Kamara gets to it. And because he didn't do that, Kamara was get there first and heads into the back of the net. And yeah, that of course was really the final action of the game, as the Quakes did had a couple of late half chances in this game, but overall, it ends in a 1-1 draw between both of these teams. Shots in this game, 14 shots compared to 10 that the Rapids had. 2 shots on goal compared to 6 that the Rapids had. 7 shots off target compared to 2 that the Rapids had. 5 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Rapids had. And possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that the Colorado Rapids had in this game. And with this result, the Quakes are now rock bottom in the Western Conference. And I'm not saying this to be sarcastic. They're actually rock bottom right now in the Western Conference, and that, you know, all this talk about changes and all this talk about us potentially have to spend money in the transfer market, well, guess what? How about let's actually do this? And, you know, there's an old saying that, you know, words is one thing, but, you know, action is definitely another, and that you can basically talk the talk, but make sure you, of course, walk the walk. And right now, from what Almeida is doing, hate to say it, but we've seen this before where he basically talked the talk and that he is going to make some changes. And while he did kind of try to make some changes in this game to kind of freshen it up, he didn't walk the walk with the way that I think the most obvious decision that this Quakes team need to do in order to get back to winning ways, and that is they need to drop Vega. Like, this is probably the 4th or 5th or even the 6th game that Vega has cost us a victory in this game, and that this just cannot continue any more longer if this Quakes team want to get back to winning ways and get back into the playoff picture. And for the Rapids, you know, they got to draw out of this game, which on paper you would think that they would be happy with this draw, since anytime we get a point on the road, it's good in MLS. But the only problem is the Rapids are also in 11th place right now in the Western Conference, and the winless run that Robin Fraser team is endure ever since the season has been suspended because of the pandemic continues on to today. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Dynamo and against SKC, which the Dynamo was able to win 2-1 against SKC, and boy, oh boy, Tab Ramos, he has absolutely pressed the right button in terms of his substitution these last couple of games. And that, you know how I said that Oscar Pereira has been the most influential head coach so far this season with the way that he has got this Orlando City team playing beautiful soccer and get this team do very well in the tournament? Well, it seemed like there is now even a bigger discussion that Tab Ramos might be joining Oscar Pereira as the coach that has just completely transformed their team that were once being near the bottom of their respective conference. Because Houston, you know, for the first couple of games, things definitely did not kind of went well for them, but ever since they got eliminated in the MLS's back tournament, this team looked like they are one of the most dangerous team in the Western Conference. Now, in the first half, and actually this game was delayed for 10 minutes because there was some lightning that was around the Houston area, and that this game didn't kick off until 7:20 p.m. local time. And that in the first 15 minutes of this game, I thought it was a very slow start for both of these teams, and maybe the humidity and the fact that both of these teams are coming off of a short rest might be the reason why both teams kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start, or the fact that they want to conserve their energy for the last 75 minutes of this game. Now, in the 18th minute, Melia was able to rob Nico Hansen, who went through on goal, but he almost spilled the ball that he was able to save there, but fortunately he just able to grab it as that ball was trickling in across the line. Then in the 30th minute, Hurtado would be able to score the opening goal for SKC and the opening goal in this game. And originally it was a great save from Rich from Shelton, but unfortunately he did allow a juicy rebound to Hurtado, who was in the right place, right time to tap it into the back of the net to give SKC a 1-0 lead. And then Ramirez in the 42nd minute hits the post, and I thought the Dynamo attack, they didn't look really good in the first half, and that I feel like in the second half, it's pretty clear that Tap Ramos need to bring some reinforcement, and knowing the fact that they do have some very strong kind of reinforcement on the attack on the bench with the likes of Elise and Manotas being on the bench in this game, you would feel like Tap Ramos was gonna bring them on, which in the 58th minute he would unleash Elise and Lassiter into this game to hope that the Dynamo would get an equalizer, and instantly that is exactly what happens, because 1 minute later, after Elise was into this game, he would score from Seren and Quintero to give the Dynamo the equalizer, and it was a 1-1 game at that point. Melia then had to deny Quintero in the 65th minute, and I feel like the more that Tap Ramos was pretty much bringing on the attacking power, the more that I feel like potentially SKC is going to concede, because Houston, they were really pushing for the winner and was really taking advantage of an SKC team that they looked like they were tired. Like they were just completely weared out from the Houston Heat, and that as much as they were hanging on for the last couple of minutes and hoped to get another draw in this game, it was not meant to be, because in the 85th minute, Manotas, one of the substitution that Tab Ramos brought in the second half, would score from Valentin and Quintero to give the Dynamo a 2-1 lead. Manotas actually had a chance to put the cherry on the top and put the comeback even better when he went through on goal, but unfortunately Melia was able to deny him. But yeah, the Dynamo with a 2-1 win against SKC, and I think this is now their third straight victory coming out of this game. As the shots in this game, 9 shots compared to 14 that SKC had, 6 shots on goal compared to 3 that SKC had, 3 shots off target compared to 7 that Sporting KC had, no shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Sporting KC had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession. And right now, I have a feeling no one want to play this Houston Dynamo team. Like, the way that Tap Ramos has just, again, not only has got the best out of the attack, but the way that he has just been spot on with his substitution in these last 2 games, and that both of these last 2 games he's been able to get goals scored that comes off the bench, just to show you how much of a wonderful job that he has done to this team. And that, again, this is the last team you want to face right now with how hot the Dynamo is. And for SKC, the struggle continues for this team, and that Peter Vermeer's team now has gone through a 4-game winless run, and although technically they're still at the top of the Western Conference right now, I have a feeling if they keep playing like this, they're not going to be at the top of the Western Conference, and that they don't really play like a team that should belong in the top of the Western Conference, with the way that not only they struggle in terms of defending, and that this feels like a very similar SKC team from last year, where they would be up late in the game only to let the game slip away and concede late goals. But goal scoring is once again a huge issue with this team, and that there's just no goals that can be found in this team whatsoever. But moving on, in terms of the next game, is Orlando and Atlanta, and this is going to be be one that Orlando City feel like it slipped away from them. And that this will also be one that I think Orlando City probably learned the one of the bigger cliche in soccer, and that of course is that if you don't finish your chances and also you don't kill the game off when you're up 1-0, you are gonna be punished in the end. And boy, did Atlanta punish them with the way that Orlando just did not kill this game off, despite the fact that they were holding on to a 1-0 lead. Now, in the first half, there was a couple of half chances for Orlando, and that Atlanta also had a couple of half chances, mostly on the set piece. But after the 25th minute, this is when Orlando really took over the game, and that they were playing kind of the beautiful soccer that Oscar Pereira has really implemented to this team for the past couple of games, and really since the MLS is back tournament. Guzan had to deny Mendes a chance for Orlando City to give a 1-0 lead. Then it was Carlos who probably should have hit this one away after a beautiful delivery on the free kick in the box, but unfortunately Antonio Carlos just hit that one wide, and I just had a feeling that it was a matter of time before Orlando City is going to get the opening goal, and that it just felt like Atlanta, there was a lot of last-ditch kind of tackle that they were doing for the remaining of the first half, and that just as they thought that they might be heading to halftime scoreless in this game, Benji Michel would score from Daryl DK to give a 1-0 lead for Orlando City, and that has to be infuriating if you're Atlanta, knowing the fact that you were this close to potentially head to halftime with a 0-0 score and kind of regroup heading into the second half. And I thought that was going to be a goal that is going to really demoralize Atlanta, and that Orlando City is going to be even more hungry heading into the second half. But instead, in the second half, just 20 seconds into it, Cubo Torres missed another sitter from 6 yards out. So remember how in the last game against Inter Miami, where he had a chance to bury a sitter to give Atlanta a 1-0 lead and probably gave Atlanta all 3 points in this game? Well, unfortunately, he did again in this one, and that this should have been the equalizer for Atlanta United. But Atlanta did start off of a positive note, and I thought they were definitely getting more possession in the Orlando half, and that, the first half, at least for the latter part of it, Orlando was just all over Atlanta, and it looked like this one was probably going to get very ugly, but I feel like whatever Stephen Glass said to the Atlanta United players at halftime clearly works out, as they were really started to get a little bit more possession, and at time it felt like Orlando was kind of holding on to this 1-0 lead. But then again, there were also times that they were going on the attack and had a couple of decent chances, and one of them came in the 79th minute when Nani, of course, was denied by the post. But as this one was redirected back into the play, Urso had a chance to basically put it into the empty net, but instead some heroic defending by Atlanta to clear that one off the line, and this game remains at 1-0. And I just, again, had this feeling and kind of had this instinct that the longer this game is going to continue at 1-0, and I also wrote Orlando need to clearly kill this game off, because the longer this game is going to remain at 1-0, something tells me Atlanta is going to have that one genius attack, and they were able to get the equalizer, and it came in the second minute of stoppage time in the second half, when Adam John scored from Marooney and walks, and just like that, Atlanta United ties the game up, and they would end up getting a point and really steal a point away from Orlando City in this game. As the shots in this game, 15 shots compared to the 9 that Atlanta has, 4 shots on goal compared to the 6 that Atlanta has, 9 shots off target compared to the 1 that Atlanta has, 2 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 44% possession compared to 56% possession. And Oscar Pereira is not going to be happy with this result, or does any Orlando City fans and players, because I'm pretty sure Orlando City fans have just saw a flashback of the biggest problem with Orlando for the past couple of years, which is they have a bunch of chances in the game, but they aren't able to put it away, and then they just get sucker punch either near the middle of the game, or in this case right at the end of the game, and that this would really feel like it's a 2-point drop, and maybe feel like a loss for Orlando City than it is for Atlanta. That feel like this was a 3 points for them that they gained against an Orlando City team that I thought this was a power shift that is going on in this rivalry, but it doesn't seem like that is the case, and that, you know, Atlanta might think that, say that, well, we did give away that first win to Orlando City, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to try to do it again in this game, no matter even if we're not in the best of form in the past couple of games, and that Orlando City looked like an unbeatable force in these last couple of games. But moving on, in terms of the final game of this week, I called it. I called that Vancouver was going to win this game, and that I made the bold prediction on Friday that they were going to win this game, and look what happened. They did win this game against Toronto FC, and hence, that's why I'm so glad to wear this Vancouver jersey, and that, I'm not going to lie, there was at times in this game I actually cheered for Vancouver, and I was actually celebrating when the Whitecaps were scoring the goal, because I just had a feeling with the way that Vancouver had an 11-day break, and that TFC, with such a congested schedule that they have been playing in the last couple of games, that something tells me Vancouver can actually steal this. Now, the way that this game played, I don't think this was kind of the way I imagined Vancouver was going to win this game, but hey, you know, the reason why they got all 3 points in this game is that they never stopped believing that they can, of course, get the win, and that they were being clinical in front of goals, and the Wall of Hassel returned in this game against Toronto FC. Now, in the first half, again, straight off the bat, TFC was all over Vancouver and looked like they were going to get the opening goal. And then in the 17th minute, Cavallini scored his first ever goal for the Vancouver Whitecaps, and his first MLS goal from Ali Adnan to give Vancouver a 1-0 lead. And up until that point, I feel like something is going to be special about this game, and that Vancouver is going to do it. They're going to steal this one against TFC. Although that kind of thoughts kind of quickly diminished, because 8 minutes later, Osorio scores from Pozuelo and Aro, and you know, right after when Vancouver was able to get that 1-0 lead, which at that point, I gotta admit, it was kind of against the run of plays with the way that Toronto was pretty much dominating throughout the game. But I just feel like Vancouver is probably going to just kind of sit back, and hopefully they can hold on to this 1-0 lead in the remaining of this game. But unfortunately, they would later concede just 8 minutes later, and that it looked like for the rest of the first half, TFC was really looking to try to get that lead for the first time, and they almost did in 37th minute when Akinola actually missed a sitter from 6 yards out. And actually, to be fair, I will say that despite the fact that TFC, for the remaining of the first half, that they looked like they were going to get the lead for the first time after they got the equalizer, I thought Vancouver at times they were being very adventurous, and that this is the thing that I've been asking about this Whitecaps team, and kind of been asking about Marc Dos Santos' team for the past couple of weeks, is that can they actually decide to take risks, and can they actually decide to just hold on to possession and just not kind of just sit back and just sitting way too deep in their own half and hope that their opposition would not be able to create chances or score goals against them. And it seemed like at times in this game, the answer is that yes, they can actually take risks, and that the Whitecaps, I thought, in this game, out of all the games that they have been playing ever since they got eliminated after that miraculous run in the MLS's back tournament, that this was really the first time that I saw the Whitecaps actually decide to try to hold possession and try to take some risk going forward on the attack, and just not sit there at the back and just hope that their opponent don't concede or their opponent score a goal against them. Now, in the 45th minute, Thomas Hassel would rob Piatti after he made a wicked shot for about 24 yards out, but Hassel, with a full stretch, to able to deny Piatti a chance to give TFC the lead right on the stroke of halftime. And then in the second half, it was the post, the reason this time that Piatti wasn't able to put the ball into the back of the net. And then in the 57th minute, Bellissimo scored what looked like could be the goal of the week, with the way that he just waxed that one from about 27 yards out. And that, no doubt, that was kind of an ambitious effort, but hey, you know, the old saying goes, if you're not going to try those ambitious effort, and you don't try to shoot those kind of ball, sometimes sometimes you're definitely not going to get the ball into the back of the net, and that although that was an ambitious effort by Baldismo, what a hit that was that ends up into the back of the net, and I have no doubt that that is going to get a lot of nomination and probably a lot of votes to potentially be the goal of the week from this week. Now, in the 63rd minute, Hassel once again robbed another Toronto player. This time it was Pozuelo, the one that he was able to rob him from close range. But unfortunately, Pozuelo did get the better of Hassel in the 70th minute when he scored from Piatti to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And I thought Vancouver was sitting way too deep again. Like, there was definitely periods of the second half where it feels like they've gone back to their old habit of just sitting way too deep in their own half, and that I didn't at that point, even though I kind of still believed that maybe Vancouver was going to do something special, my belief kind of went a little bit way down when I saw how they were able to get the opening goal in this game. And then out of nowhere, in the 76th minute, Jake Nowinski, which I actually was keeping track of the Reddit comment stream throughout the Reddit match thread stream throughout this game, and I know that a lot of Whitecaps fans was really criticizing Nowinski with the way that he's been playing in this game, but he turns out to score an unlikely winner goal from Rose and Atnan to give Vancouver a 3-2 lead before Thomas Hassel. You know, I said that today in this game that he basically channeled his MLS's back tournament kind of form, and that this feels like it's a wall of Hassel moment again, because he would once again deny Osorio a chance for TFC to potentially make it 3-3 in this game. Now, Cavallini did have a decent chance to pretty much wrap this one up from 10 yards out, and that De Leon had a wicked shot for about 24 yards out that just scraped off the post, and that for the last 7 minutes of this game, I really thought the Whitecaps was just pretty much hanging for dear life, and it was just all hands on deck with the way that this team was hanging on to get a victory, which they're able to do exactly that, despite the fact that there was 7 minutes of stoppage time for Toronto to get that third and potentially equalized goal. And that, in the end, Vancouver, you know, many people will say that they pull off the biggest upset of this weekend. For me, I saw this one coming. I knew this was going to be an upset, and despite the fact that they had 7 shots compared to 22 that Toronto has, 3 shots on goal compared to 9 that Toronto has, 3 shots off target compared to 11 that Toronto has, 1 shot that was blocked compared to 2 that Toronto has, and possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that the Whitecaps had. The perseverance and the never say die kind of mentality, and a way to always find a way to score goals and be clinical in front of goals, and also Thomas Hassel channeling his MLS's back tournament form, is the reason why Vancouver got all 3 points in this game. Although, one thing I will also kind of diminish a little bit of the Whitecaps victory is that TFC defense was hot garbage tonight. I mean, it looked just as bad as what we saw in the MLS's back tournament, and kind of in some ways similar to what happened in that game against DC United, where they were controlling the game throughout the entire part, and then yet somehow in some way they made some boneheaded defensive mistake. And unlike that game where, you know, it ultimately cost them 3 points and they only get a point out of this game, this one, it cost them all 3 points. And after that record-breaking 18-game unbeaten streak in the regular season, they have now lost back-to-back games. That is Toronto FC, and they need to bounce back heading into the next one against the Montreal Impact in the Canadian Classic. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of these games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these games, as tomorrow it's going to be a very busy night where we're going to have 8 games to talk about, and unfortunately I'm going to have to switch the board tomorrow too, which means that the review is probably going to be uploaded very late, and that I'll probably might have to do the video until, might be doing the video and won't finish the recording until right about 11 o'clock my time. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.